Which Mercedes have head gasket issues? A head gasket and the subsequent valve job are some of the worst jobs you can do on a Mercedes. So today I'm going to teach you about which Mercedes have head gasket problems so you can watch out for them, and hopefully you will be able to protect yourself in the future from these issues. So the first engine that I think of that tends to have a lot of head gasket issues is the M104 engine. These issues are caused mostly by oil leaking in the rear right corner as a rear passenger, or if you're in the UK, the rear driver corner and the front right corner. You know what I mean. Same side. Oil leakage from these areas can get onto the exhaust and it can leave nasty puddles everywhere, and it's just a little gross. But out and out head gasket failure on these, other than the oil leakage, does not occur until you get to about 150 to 200,000 miles, and then they totally go and they start mixing coolant and combustion or whatever. But thus being said, there are a lot of things you can do to mitigate this problem. The first one is change your coolant regularly. The second one is use an 80-degree thermostat instead of an 87-degree thermostat. And then the last one is, when you buy the car, try to buy a car that's had its head gasket done, or at least buy it with regards to the cost of replacing one in the future. A lot of the replacement head gaskets are far better quality than the originals. Don't ask me why. I guess materials just do tend to improve over time. That's why most cars nowadays go to the wrecking yard, because of control unit issues and not necessarily head gasket failures, unless you have a BMW. Now, one of the next Mercedes that has a really bad head gasket problem that you really have to watch out for is the 380, 500, 425, 60 SEL with aluminum block M116 and 117 engines. Now, why is this? Well, it's because the head gaskets tend to deteriorate towards the rear where the engine is hottest, and oil tends to seep out of the head gasket joint and get on the exhaust. That's why if you are buying one of these cars, you need to check the head gaskets. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to spring a big oil leak. It just means that you're going to end up with an oil smell once in a while. And yes, it involves pulling the heads, and while you're at it, do a valve job too. Now, a third Mercedes that might surprise you that has serious head gasket problems would be the 190E 2.3. And these engines have an open deck block that is notorious for corroding between the head gasket and the top of the block. And as a result, they will consume coolant, or coolant will leak out of the sides of the block between the block and the head. This is such a common issue on these engines that most people find themselves regularly topping coolant up in their 190E, including me, because every once in a while the coolant gets low and I know where it's going, you know, and the car will start a little rough. I didn't know this until recently, and then I found out. Now, the 190 is still not an easy head gasket to change. People look at it and go, oh, it's a little four-cylinder, that's easy. No, it's not, because the 190 had crap valve guides, so you should valve job it too, and they had a tendency, because of all that coolant contact, for the heads to corrode. So you need to find a machinist that knows how to weld the base of the cylinder head in case it is corroded. Now, other head gasket failures occur on engines like the M114 and M130 engines, in this case because the heads warp, or because the heads get corroded and the gasket can no longer do its job. So all those old inline 6-cylinder Mercedes engines should be vetted for coolant leaking into the cylinders, especially if they've sat for a long time, because that's usually when they fail. Another engine that is notorious for head gasket failure is the M100 6.3 liter engine, because there's an oil passage that goes right through the back of the block with 100 psi of oil. It will sometimes leak right out of the head gasket joint, and it's a big nasty oil leak. And when you pull it, guess what? You're going to do a valve job too. And believe it or not, it's just as easy to pull heads on an M100 engine as it is a 560 engine. They're really about the same amount of work. With the M100 engine, you always, on all the Mercedes engines, you really want to leave your exhaust manifolds on the motor when you pull them. It makes things much easier. Anyway, if you enjoyed this little bit of knowledge about these Mercedes engines, You know, we'll talk about engines that have head failure next, like the 603 at some point. You know, but we'll we should probably talk about some of the issues with the 603 engine in one of our videos. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this. Please like, share, and subscribe. Tap the bell for notifications. And thank you for viewing our channel. Leave your comments below about your own head gasket adventures. And I know I didn't talk about the M103 head gasket, but it's sort of the same as the M104 head gasket. I'll see you guys later. Don't give up in your car. If you have a head gasket failure, just count it as a learning experience.